I think that we promote inclusive coverage from day one, that we take an attitude that it's not our yearbook, that it belongs to the students of the school, and that our job is to tell their story. We're part of that story, but it's really their story. And that we also go through a little ceremony where we ask the kids to envision that they are handing this book to one student, that they're going to find themselves in it, and that they're going to be so excited we're going to make their day. We really talk about the yearbook as an opportunity to be a gift or a blessing to students by capturing their history and capturing their moment in time, so that when they get the yearbook they feel like, wow, I really was part of Rocklin High School, because that's what inclusiveness means. It's like you are part of that school. I was there, I made a difference. There's certainly been a trend in my career to include more photographs. We take an approach that, first of all, students want to be photographed. If we can't photograph, they want to be named in either as part of something or preferably quoted in a way that is personal, and sometimes beyond personal and downright intimate. And so I think finding all the variations of those things is kind of the intriguing part of doing an inclusive yearbook. What are different ways that we can kind of take this on and identify them as part of a group, identify their language and what really comes from their heart, and that's one of the biggest pieces, or include them in a photograph. We start with the idea of being inclusive with a theme. And that's one of the questions in theme development we come up with is, okay, that's a great theme idea. Now how are you going to use it to get more kids in the book? Or what tool are you going to create that is theme inspired to get more students in the book? And so that process starts very early on. I think we've graduated from using one format each year to usually using 2 or 3 or 4 different ones within a given book. We do have a process once we get started. It actually generally starts the spring before. We identify any kids who were undercovered from the previous yearbook, and we make a point of getting them in the book right from the get-go. That becomes a high priority. So with 3 of the classes, obviously we don't have the seniors and we don't have the freshmen yet. But then we also do have a coverage editor who's in charge of the index, first of all, but also recording topics and subjects to make sure that, because inclusiveness goes beyond the individual student, it also makes sure that every different aspect of the school and of student life to the greatest degree possible is in that yearbook. So we have editors in charge of that piece of it, but it's also a whole staff responsibility. They really take it on as a mission. They take it on as a mission to try to get as many different kids in the book as possible. We get our feedback a little bit differently each year. It kind of depends. We always do an online survey for kind of basic information. We always ask them politely what color they'd like the cover to be, even though we already kind of know the answer. It's got to be school colors or black, with some variations, but we know that about our students at this point. We also do focus groups. Not necessarily every year we do a focus group, but we do a focus group every 2 or 3 years. We also do some during the year as we progress through that current book. And we haven't done a written survey for a while, so it's basically pretty much focus groups, or we do the online surveys to kind of get that feedback. Actually, the other thing we do is informally, the students always, when the yearbook comes out, they have an assignment to go out and ask 10 people about the yearbook and get feedback back. So we get that feedback informally from our students, and we think that's really, really kind of valuable because it's anecdotal. I think the role of student-submitted photos is steadily expanding over the last 5 years, and now it's starting to explode, because the reality is, in today's world, everyone's a photographer, because everybody has a phone that can take photos. 60% of our students have smartphones, so we know that it's already out there. We actually plan for what we call our Facebook style photos, which are the posed ones, which do tell a story. When you have a picture of 3 Rocklin kids in front of Disneyland, that tells the story of how important Disneyland is to our culture. So we plan for those. They're usually smaller. They're usually captioned very honestly, because we don't try to make things up about what they're doing. We just say, these 3 kids are in front of Disneyland. They went on a trip this week. I think the exciting part's going to come now as the phone camera improves. The quality of photography is going to improve. We're going to be able to play those bigger, and I think we'll see students start to be better and better photographers. So you have to have a way to kind of get those. So far it's been word of mouth, but there are going to be more and more options for them to submit directly. We don't necessarily have to chase them down.